Hey guys, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. This is Sophia with Sophia Brings Light. Today, I would like to talk to you guys about being a modern hoodoo practitioner. Basically, because I think I had talked to you guys about this hoodoo grimoire by Mika, and she is on Lead Taken, and I am going to leave her information in the body down there in the body of my video when I explain the video. This is a video response to her as she talked about being a modern practitioner and some of the things that she feels as a modern practitioner she brings to the table and some of the differences for her. One of the things she brought up, and I'm going to say I have to agree with that, is that, and it's a beautiful thing and a tribute to our ancestors, that some of the suffering that they went through, we're not going through that right now. So her practice is different because of that. Also, some of the things that we use because we had access to those things, her practice is different because of that. And she doesn't feel like if you're in social media, if you don't practice traditionally, you kind of become like the person everybody can. So that's not hoodoo. That's not what you're doing. But I feel like if we really want to talk about it, hoodoo kind of transformed and evolved over the years, though I feel like different families, I would even say maybe different people in different regions do hoodoo maybe a little bit different. I've lived in Alabama and Tennessee, and I've noticed the difference in how people practice versus me. I grew up around this. And so how they practice in Alabama versus like I know some practitioners in Memphis and how they practice, and I've met people here. It's a little bit different. And I personally feel that hoodoo has transformed or evolved or had a renaissance in certain things. Think about when our ancestors came over here in slave ships. They had to take their practices and make them work for them in America. They may not have had the same things that they used. They had to learn about the herbs here and different things. They had to learn the language and adapt their culture to this language. If they did practice some of their old religious practices, they could be killed. So they had to synchronize practices to make it work for them. So if you consider all of that, you see there was some evolution and some change. And even if they were young, maybe, they had to remember what their people and their ancestors had taught them. So some things could have changed coming into a new land with another culture. And, that may have changed. So, and they were in slavery. So there would have been some suffering with that. And hoodoo, to me, some of that is to learn how to survive in the situation that you're in. It's our own resistance to some things, I feel like, in the history of that. So as being a modern practitioner, she feels that, one, she doesn't do the Christian focus of a lot of hoodoo, which I feel like there is a lot of practitioners who don't really have that Christian focus anymore. And that's fine. I feel there is a certain place with that, is that hoodoo is not a religion, but to me, it's a spiritual practice. And so some parts of it, in order for it to work for me, I've had to make it my own. And that's what she's saying. She's had to make it her own. Now, the very real traditionalists will have a problem with that. But my thing is, like, even thinking from them coming over on the boats to them accommodating to the Americas and the situation they were in, which would have been in slavery, to them becoming free. to them maybe in the 30s, I see this evolution, and they had to modernize some of their practice as things became more available to them. Think about in the 30s, to me, that was a renaissance for hoodoo. More things were available. You were maybe a lot of people in the South were then coming up north, and things changed a little bit because you have access to a lot more people. You may, from being in the fields, now you may be more in industrial kind of things. So there were some changes there. And as those changes happened, we evolved. Now, this is Linda's take on that. I will be the first to admit that. But if you think about it, how else could it be? Then why in this era is nothing wrong for your practice to me? Now, this is my personal gnosis, to evolve, for you to take advantage of the things that you have today. I would think that our ancestors would want us to evolve in our practices and to have the access that we do have. Now, on the counterpart of that, I'd also like to say, in this political climate, we may be going back to some of the things that they did for some of the reasons that they used it. Master was not treating them right, so they did what they had to do to make it right. And it may be some things that we got to do to make things be right. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. So there may sometimes in history, there are full circles. And I feel like in life, sometimes you have to know that life is a circle. Sometimes it's not always linear, not a linear timeline. So I feel that personally for me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I do like the traditional practices, and I honor those. And some things I do in a very traditional type of way. But I also am a modern practitioner, and I have advantage of technology. I have the advantage of maybe getting materials from different sources, from bodegas, offline, and I have access to a lot. Why wouldn't I use those things that I have access to that maybe my grandmother or grandmothers didn't have that access? Like most of the time they mostly just use white candles because that's what they had access to. Well, I have access to all kind of colors and stuff like that. They had to use whatever rags or whatever for their mojo bags, or whatever they had. And sometimes I may use a scarf or whatever, but I do like to use those little pre-made bags. Sometimes this is a modern time. I have that access and it helps me with my timing. I'm going to use those things. I may have access to more herbs, more well-rounded, because they're available to me. I can get them offline or whatever. I have access to that. Now, some of the things I feel like we have in common from that is that, sometimes, now, personally, I like to do my own work. I like to make my own oils. I like to make my own bags. I like to gather my own herbs for whatever I'm using it for, powders or whatever. But sometimes because I want to support other people, I might buy their oils or their powders or their incense blends, because I like to make my own incense blends too, but I sometimes want to support other people, and so I do that. So what I'm saying is I just have this mixture where she kind of has her practice a certain way, and she does talk about this in her Hoodoo grimoire, which I have recommended before, and how she does it. I am going to read a couple of things that she talks about. The role of ancestors in a modern hoodoo. The ancestral connection remains a cornerstone of hoodoo, whether you practice traditionally or in modern form. The spirit of those who came before us offer protection, guidance, and strength. Modern hoodoo encourages building a personal relationship with your ancestor. So we do that. We do have that. So there is some differences and there are some commonalities. Now, she doesn't use any biblical content or Christian content in her work. I'm going to be honest, I do. I'm I use biblical verses. Sometimes I use the Psalms. A lot of times, because I've been in that Christian world for so long, I've just broken away from that maybe in the last 10 years, maybe or so, maybe 6, I'm not sure. But scriptures just come up in my head, and I will use that in my practice if it's applicable at that time. And though I try to sometimes get away from it, I still feel like I have somewhat a Christian parts of my practice too. So I have some notes here. So I'm going, to me, what are some of the difference between a modern hoodoo practice and a traditional practice? So some of those differences could be maybe in the spell work that we do. It could be in how we do things. Sometimes people have a cultural fusion. Modern hoodoo has absorbed influences from various cultures, including Native American, it says here, European and Caribbean traditions. And I believe there's some truth to that. I feel like we've all interacted. However, I do feel like more people pull from our practice than we from them. We have access to resources, as I discussed, with the internet, social media. Practitioners can now share knowledge, which are rituals and resources more accessible and easily. Personalization. Contemporary practitioners often adapt traditional spells and rituals to fit personal beliefs and lifestyles, allowing for a unique expression of spirituality. Nothing is wrong with that. My hoodoo practice is mine. It's a mixture of traditional and modern practices. I use crystals sometimes in my bags, and I know some people have a problem with that. I like them. I feel like they have a power that helps in generating things. So I do. Sometimes modern practitioners have more of an interdisciplinary approach. Many modern practitioners integrate hoodoo with other spiritual or healing practices, such as Wicca or Reiki. I'm a Reiki practitioner, so I do use Reiki treatments and stuff. I don't really consider that hoodoo, but that is a part of my practice. Now, Wicca, I'm not sure if many people use this. So that's some things. Traditional practitioners, a lot of times, they have the ancestral connection, which that's what we have in common. They often rely heavily on ancestral knowledge passed down through generations using specific charms, rituals, and herbal remedies. I do that too. Community centric. They have a community centric practice most of the time. Traditional hoodoo is often practiced within a tight-knit community, sometimes families, with rituals and spells conducted collectively, drawing on the wisdom of the elders, which is, I think that's beautiful. And I feel like at one time I had that too. Some of my elders left this existence, but I feel like they've left a mark. Materials and ingredients. Traditional will typically use locally sourced material and ingredients specific to their heritage, which I feel like there's truth to that. Ritual and structure. Traditional practice often follows strict structure and guidelines with particular attention to timing, lunar phases, and other natural cycles. Secrecy and privacy. This is with historically traditional practices. Most of the time that was a secretive practice, with many rituals and spells kept within families or close communities to protect the knowledge and its practitioners. I kind of feel like that can be in common with a lot of modern practitioners, because I do feel like hoodoo is a closed practice. And I may share some general things, but I don't share a lot of things. So on the modern thing, sometimes we may have an eclectic approach. I do have an eclectic approach. Some people would have a problem with that, but I do. I do use the digital resources that I have. Sometimes I have a personal interpretation of certain things. Certain herbs that maybe my mom or grandmother used, I may not have. And I'll rework or do whatever to make it happen. And hoodoo was, to me, about using the resources that you have. Inclusivity in the modern practice, many practitioners emphasizing inclusiveness, welcoming individuals from various backgrounds and experiences while respecting the cultural roots of Hoodoo. I know a lot of people do that. I'm sort of more on the protective side with that. I have no problem with sharing basic knowledge because to me, basic knowledge is available on the internet. So I don't have that. A lot of times more modern practitioners may be open to sharing some information, and I believe that. So those were some of the differences and some of the commonality we have with modern and traditional Hoodoo. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle with that, and that is okay. I feel like it's okay if you want to practice Hoodoo in a more traditional aspect. Beautiful. If you want to bring some modern practices into that, I think that's beautiful. The only thing that probably I would say is just the traditional. Try to keep some traditional things so we can hold on to some of those traditional things. But you do you. I feel like I cannot judge you on how you practice. I'm not going to be a gatekeeper on how you practice unless you're doing something really illegal and just disrespectful to all. I'm not going to do that. And I feel like we should give each other the freedom and the respect to honor our ancestors in the way that we see fit. As a modern practitioner, I feel like one of the ways that I honor my ancestors is all the things that they went through. They went through some things so I could have a more open and free practice. And I do have that. And that is a way that I honor them. Another way that I honor them is that I keep some things very traditional, or I practice some things in a very traditional place, just to honor them. But I always feel like we should have the freedom to practice the way we see fit, as long as we are respectful and honorable in our practice, and that we hold up a standard for ourselves, that we are not dishonoring our ancestors in practicing that. And I'm talking about our Hoodoo ancestors. Like, I don't want to dishonor them in any way. So I'm not going to cheat you. I'm not going to lie to you. If I don't know something, that's okay. It's a world of knowledge out here, and I will get back with you. I feel like we should collaborate. One of the things is a lot of things sometimes got lost because there was no documentation. And I'm glad we're writing books and looking up our history, and we have this information about document your practice. And that's part of her Hoodoo grimoire, is to document your practice. At the back of her book, you can put in the things that you want to put in. That is your practice, how you practice. You put in things in there, your rituals, your whatever, you put it in there. So that's all for today. I just wanted to talk to you about being a modern Hoodoo practitioner, and that is okay. I also will have a part 2, and that will be coming up soon, and I'll talk to you more about that. You be blessed. You be powerful. You practice your practice, giving honor and dignity to what we've taken on as we continue our journey. Thanks a lot.